We talked about it. We talked about it. We talked about it. We fed it down your throats. We told you the opportunity was going to probably happen, and it happened. WGA struck at midnight on Monday because the contract ended, and that was it. And we told you on Monday, too, on our live show, we said we're pretty much like, this is going to happen because it just seemed like it. Like they were making advances. They had a contract go back and forth over the weekend. Producers gave one AMPTP, and then, WJ sent it back, and then they sent it back. They're going back and forth, but they're really divided on a lot of things. Now, the big thing they're divided on, okay, is why they're picketing. Well, they've been picketing right now outside of Peacock in New York. They've been outside the Cock in New York. They're outside Fox, Sony Studios here in LA, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Paramount Global, NBC Universal, and Warner Brothers are out there with their signs. If you live in LA, you've probably seen it, or if you're online, you've probably seen a million pictures because it's everywhere. But what they said they want, okay, now the big thing is they want to include minimum staffing. They want viewer-based streaming residuals. They want curbs on mini rooms. They want the use of artificial intelligence, but with residuals. And they want guaranteed weeks for work on comedy and variety programs and full pension health, of course. Now, when it comes down to the breakdown, because every contract, the way it works is like they do 3-year contracts. That's what it is. Normally, there's a percentage each year where they get raises for residuals and for their salaries. So what they wanted this time around, they wanted 6% the first year, 5% the second year, and then 5% the third year. That's what they wanted. AMPTP said, no, we're going to give you 4, 3, and 2%. That's what we want to give you. And right there alone, you can tell it's a big difference in pay. Now, they were breaking it down. They were like, well, we want to have over 3 years. We want to up to $429 million towards the WGA. And, the AMPTP said, no, we just want to give you $86 million over that whole time, which is a big difference right there. Hence why they're striking. They're worried about becoming a gig job, which is a big deal because the way this industry works, like the writers are the backbones of everything. Without the writers, we got nothing. And, they want more writers on set, which makes sense. That's great because that changes happen every day on set. Hence why you're seeing a lot of your main programs are closing down right now, because if they don't have an episode written, they don't have writers there, they can't change things. And then for the producers on set, they're like, well, if we can't change anything, maybe we want to chase it the day. We can't do that. No, we got to shut down. And so things are shutting down. The late night show is shut down. If you're a fan of Yellow Jackets, that shut down mid-season. So that'll be delayed. You're going to see delays coming in the coming months because of this. And I don't think it's going to end anytime soon because they're already planning a big, massive May 15th event where they're going to have staging, I'm going to say riots, but picketing in LA and New York, around the world. They're going to do this big thing. And, to me, it's like, I don't think this is going to end anytime soon. If you go back in time, in 07, 08, they went 100 days. If you go back even further, back in 88, they went 153 days striking. So, I mean, they're the one union that does strike, that does put it out there. And even with the writers on set, the producers are like, well, this is mandatory staffing. And then the writers are like, no, this is preserving the writer's room. They're like, we just need to have a job. Like people can't pay the rent. People are taking out loans. People are getting assistance other ways because it costs so much to live in LA. And it costs so much. And it's like, if you're not paying me, you're paying me as a gig person, all of a sudden my job becomes down to nothing. So that's what's happening here. And they want writers in post. They want writers, more writers, like I said, on set. But the post thing is crazy. They want a writer in post, which I guess things change in post, but that's usually the editor's job to do that. They manipulate it. That's just how it goes. So to me, there's a lot going on with this. And I feel like for them to get there, it's gonna take someone just to be like, fuck it, let's just do it. Let's just do it. I'll get back to work, whatever. They were even joking about how David Zaslav, who runs Warner Brothers Discovery, makes $250 million a year. And they said that $250 million would be enough to pay everybody, like 10,000 writers, So like, why is he getting paid this much? You're saying that we're at record lows and stuff and you're not making as much for streaming, but you just got yourself a pay increase and you're making $250 million. And the Netflix CEO too also raised up to $50 million a year. So if times are that tough, like everybody, then why are you getting raises right now? That's the question. So now this is out there. We know it's out there. We knew it was coming. We're like day 3 right now, or day 2. So, Sean, what do you think about this? Do you think this is going to go for a long time? And do you think that their demands are warranted?
Yes and yes. No, you pay the damn people. It never makes sense to me that these CEOs and C-level executives are making so much damn money off the backs of the lower level employees. I don't care if I sound like a socialist whatever, but I just believe in paying people a living wage. And streaming has always operated on this. We have no idea how well shows do because they just don't report the data, and that's bullshit. That's to screw
Yeah.
over the writers and the crew that are working on these shows. Like, it just, everything that they're asking for makes sense. Like, why they weren't getting these in the first place just shows to you how little power they have. And good on them. I believe that. I mean, I support the strike just like Bernie Sanders does, and a dozen other people on my Instagram.
Yeah, almost everybody.
I have very little power to offer aside from my support and my willingness to not watch anything that's not supported by this kind of group. But no, I think they have a right to do it, and I support them, and I want to see them paid. I want to see them get what they want and get what they deserve, truly.
And there's a lot of different unions that are behind them. Like Teamsters were saying they're not going to cross the line. That'll really shut shit down. Without Teamsters, if you don't know what Teamsters are, they're the ones that drive all the trucks, that drive all the vans, all the shuttle stuff. Without them, you can't get anywhere or do anything. So as long as they're behind them too, of course, SAG-AFTRA said that go back to work. They said because we have no strike policy, you have to work and cross the picket line. But then they were out there, actually picketing with them, which is kind of contradictory. But, SAG is kind of contradictory. I mean, I love the union, but I hate the union. It's what it is, bittersweet. But Sabrina, what do you think? What do you think about this? Do you think this is do you think they're warranted what they're doing? Or do you think that, they should, settle and get back to work?
No, that's definitely warranted. Like this whole when the streaming stuff came about, like they lost a lot. So did actors. Like it's this whole like evolution of media that was never dealt with in contracts, and like for the writers, they kind of like left it how it was so that they would be able to then hit this negotiating point, and they're the only union that does this. Like if the SAG pretends they're going to fight for us and they're like, yay, we got robes for naked women, I'm like, oh great, thanks. Like what
That's a
set
true
of
thing.
worked on that like you didn't get a robe if you were scantily clad? Oh, no more auditions in hotel rooms. Who is going to an audition in a hotel room? Because if you are, you
True
probably
story.
should not have gone. Like, I mean, they're touting these things as like, we did this for you, and it's really sad, and it's really like it's all smoke and mirrors, So the writers
Oh,
don't get down like
absolutely.
that. They're like coming in hot. They're doing what they got to do, and they're gonna get a fair agreement. They're not gonna roll over like most other unions do, and they have the support of the DGA. Like Brian said, SAG is actually striking, even though they said that they were going to cross picket lines. So that's obviously confusing. Teamsters are not going to go. Like, there's really not going to be a lot that can be happening right now. And like, all the late night shows are gone. Like all, I mean, it's going to be a very interesting couple of months, but I don't see this ending anytime soon.
I don't see it ending either. And I think it's warranted too. Ty Boogie in the chat was saying the same thing. I think it's warranted. And I think it is. I mean, honestly, it's like, it's changed. TV has changed. We know that. And a lot of these producers, AMPTP, have been trying to fight it. Like, oh, it's different. It's streaming. We don't know about, users change up and down. We don't know how many people will actually be subscribing. We don't know our numbers, like Sean was saying.
But it's like, as
bullshit.
long as when you're doing a job in any industry, like the longer you work somewhere, the more money you get. Or the more,
Yes.
the more things you get, the more benefits, the more, you know what I mean? Like you don't take shit away from somebody who has been working the same job. You know what I mean? Like that. It's just, it's ass backwards. It does not make any sense for them to take things away from you as you continue to do the same job. Like it's insane.
Yeah.
That tends to happen.
It just hasn't really, raised to that level of like modern kind of times and modern thinking of workforces. And if this is what it takes, this is what it takes. So go for it.
And I think they had to at this point, like over the weekend, if there's no deal over the weekend, it was going to happen because like, how are you going to scramble and someone's like, okay, cool, you can have that now. Because they're not going to do that. Even the AI thing, I laughed about it, how like they were saying, oh, we're kind of on the same page about this. But then like, it came out that the PTP is like, well, let's just have like yearly meetings about this. And we'll talk about how technology is there and how that will affect the industry. Yeah, just pay them, GR. But it's like, it's like a yearly meeting. Like, that doesn't fix anything. They've already started using AI, like that chat GI, whatever the hell it's called, chat, whatever it's called,
GPT.
that bullshit. Yeah, GPT. They're already using that to come up with like standard like scripts, and then they're like, well, now we'll manipulate that. Oh, we have an idea. They filled the script in. Cool. Now let's just like change some lines and then like push that shit out. Probably why TV and movies have had some duds these days. It could be, but there's creativity that needs to be there. These writers bring it, and the smaller the rooms, and they try to fight and say, well, a lot of times there's one person that writes like a whole season. That does happen. Yes, it's a rarity, but it's still good when other people get their eyes on that shit because they might see something they didn't see, and then you have a better product at the end of the day. It's like, oh, a great idea could be spawned off somebody else here, and that's why they have writer rooms. That's the big point of it. Not one person's pulling all the weight, and then you have a better product at the end of the day.
Did you guys watch Reboot at all?
Reboot. I feel like
was that cyber? Oh no, that's a sitcom thing, and they were all
the sitcom thing where they did.
With Keegan Michael.
I didn't see it. No.
Yeah, exactly. No, but it has a really great representation of the factors that are affecting old and new school methodologies and thinking behind white writers' rooms, and it shows them how they can kind of get together and work along together. And I thought it was a really well handled approach to writers' rooms. And I think showing it off is something that probably a lot of people didn't know what was behind it. Jay Leno doesn't write Jay Leno shit. Come on.
No.
Yeah,
no.
Exactly.
They even have.
Colbert.
They even have writers on reality.
Sorry.
I was gonna get in there, Sabrina.
Colbert said on the show before, like he's like, there might be writer's strike, we might not be back for a while, and he showed all of his writers on the screen, and he's like, these people write my monologues, these people do, and he said basically that he supports Ty. Everyone here I think is on the same page. We all stand with the writers 100%, as does Ty, as does GR, which I don't really feel like there's too much resistance on this subject at all. And anyone who works with these people, like I mean, it sucks that everyone loses their job. You know what I mean? Like that's the shitty part is now, because everyone who works in the entertainment industry is going to be, I mean, not everyone, there are still a few things that are happening. There's a few non-union things. There's a few talk shows that aren't scripted. There are a few shows that are already written, which they're going to push, and still shoot a little bit, whatever they have already done,
as far as
they
can
do. Yeah, exactly. So, but when that's done, if they're still striking, like, I mean, and everyone else who has been shut down, like every single department is now out of work. And that is a huge amount of people in Los Angeles. It's really, and everywhere. I mean, look how big Georgia is now. That's going to be that, like in New York. I mean, all these places where production has ramped up and there's so much production going on, like all of these people are out of jobs, and that's really unfortunate. But if that's what it takes to get what you need and use that as a bargaining chip, you got to do what you got to do. You know what I mean? And I think
there's always so many productions that are going.
Game
of Thrones.
France is still, rioting and picketing because they dared to change their
2 years
retirement clause. Like I think Americans have a different view of what it means to do these kind of strikes, but I think universally, at least the people that I'm, know and my friends and family, whatever, like we can recognize that the WGA and what they're fighting for is the right thing to do.
Yeah, Leno was delivering donuts to the strikers today. That's so awesome.
That's awesome. I saw Rob Lowe out there too doing some stuff too, talking about it, which was great. And there's people coming out there and supporting them, which is awesome. That should be, And even like Game of Thrones said, oh, we're going to keep shooting. Like our scripts are done in the can, which I call shenanigans on that because I guarantee they'll be doing changes, but they're overseas. So shenanigans, Game of Thrones.